program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at this weekend's auctions. There are almost 2,000 auctions scheduled to take place this week. That's up 37% when compared to the same week last year. New South Wales will host 770 auctions and 625 of those will be in Sydney. Victoria is scheduled to host 820 auctions and only 19 of them will be outside of Melbourne. Queensland will host 210 auctions, 108 of those will be in Brisbane. South Australia has 105 auctions scheduled, with 97 of them in Adelaide, and there are 65 auctions expected for the ACT. Taking a look at the most viewed properties going to auction this weekend. And first up, we have 28 Pars Road in Croydon on the outskirts of Melbourne. This 4-bedroom house has a price guide of $1.25 to $1.35 million. Next up, it's 12 Madeline Circuit in the Sydney western suburb of Schofields. This 3-bedder comes with 2 parking spaces, has a price guide of $850,000. Then we have number 13 Vaucluse Court, Wheelers Hill in Melbourne's southeast. This 3-bedder has a price guide of $750,000 to $825,000. Then it's over to Melbourne's northeast to 166 Waterdale Road, Ivanhoe. This 5-bedder has a price guide of $2.2 to $2.4 million. And rounding out the list, it's to Sydney's northern suburb of Hornsby, 43 Ashley Street. This 3-bedder sits on about 1,000 square metres. There's no price guide for this one. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is in Glenorrhea in far north Sydney. It's something you might see on the TV show Succession. The address is 3340 to 3382 Old Northern Road, Glenorrhea. The price is withheld, but with the ad saying the property's just a short helicopter ride from Sydney Airport, you'd imagine this place will fetch a pretty penny. Whoever buys this property gets 2 homes, gigantic 3-storey mansion with 8 bedrooms, followed by a secondary 5-bedroom house for guests. There are 10 bathrooms, parking for 9 vehicles, a ballroom, piano lounge and home cinema. The houses sit on 83 acres with a lap pool, barbecue area, rolling lawns and views to the Blue Mountains. For more on the property market and this weekend's auctions, I caught up with Eleanor Creagh from REA Group a little earlier.
Yeah, so we've seen that selling conditions have picked up this year with stronger housing demand. We've also seen that auction clearance rates have picked up and really those 4 consecutive months of price growth as well, potentially supporting vendor confidence at the moment. And we are seeing that auction activity is relatively strong with around 1,900 properties set to go to auction this weekend. And next week also scheduled to be a pretty strong week at the moment with more than 2,200 auctions set to go ahead next week.
What's causing conditions to improve so much? Is it that increase in property prices that we've seen? Is there just more confidence now coming back into the market?
So certainly, I think 4 consecutive months of home price increases does play into vendor confidence a little bit, although we do still know that the flow of new listings is relatively soft, but we are seeing a bit more auction activity. I think given that we have this demand-supply imbalance at the moment, so we have stronger housing demand really underpinned by, I think, very tight rental markets. And of course, the strong pace of net migration that we're seeing at the moment. And I think buyers beginning to adjust to that higher interest rate environment with the end of interest rate tightening probably in sight now versus what is a bit of an undersupply of properties listed for sale at the moment. So stock on market is constrained and vendors are benefiting from the fact that there's less competition with other vendors.
Yeah, how long are properties sort of sitting out there on the market for sale for? How long is that process taking?
So we are seeing that properties are taking a little bit longer to sell versus this time last year. And that is meaning that the total stock on market has actually lifted a little bit over the past year. So throughout April, we saw that total stock on market was 5.6% higher than April last year. And that's despite that flow of new listings remaining pretty soft. And of course, the flow of new listings also being dampened in April by the public holidays.
So they're taking a little longer to sell, but how are the auction clearance rates holding up? Are they pretty strong?
Yeah, so auction clearance rates are holding up at the moment, and certainly with that demand-supply imbalance that we're seeing with stronger housing demand relative to the supply of properties available for sale on market, auction clearance rates are holding pretty steady, and they're certainly holding firmer than they were into the back half of last year when interest rates were rising very quickly, and I think there was a little bit more uncertainty.
And how much demand are you getting on the REA Group website right now? Is there a lot of interest?
So when we look at buyer demand, we can see at the moment that certainly potential buyer demand on realestate.com.au has certainly pulled back off those incredibly strong and elevated levels we saw throughout 2021. But actually at the moment, potential buyer demand is a little bit higher than we saw throughout, say, the spring selling season of last year when interest rates were rising very, very quickly. Certainly that is contributing, I think, to the dynamic that we're seeing with respect to home prices at the moment, whereby we're seeing stronger housing demand really outpacing the supply of properties that's available on market at the moment, and that's working to underpin home prices to a degree.
Okay, so quite a bit of properties for sale, quite a lot of stock out there. What about the rental market? How big are rental listings at the moment? Is there a lot of rentals available as well?
So when we look at the rental market, conditions remain incredibly challenging for renters. So we've seen that new rental listings have declined 18.9% month on month in April. Now, we typically do see that new rental listings decline in April compared to March, but that's the largest decline we've seen since 2017. And when we look at total rental listings as well, rental listings remain incredibly constrained and well below pre-pandemic levels. So really tough conditions for renters remaining. Pretty hard to find an available rental, and certainly in the capital city rental markets at the moment, where demand to rent continues to increase with universities back to face-to-face study, office and city life having resumed, we're really seeing that pressure shifting to capital city rental markets and away from regional rental markets at the moment.
Yes, so that pressure on regional areas, was that really much more of an issue over the last couple of years? So it's starting to ease off now out in the regions?
Yeah, so we saw that throughout the pandemic, demand for regional rentals really surged, with people taking advantage of remote working opportunities, looking for more space and for lifestyle advantages that many regional properties offer. Now, for some, that move was more permanent than others. Certainly we are seeing now that with city life having resumed, with borders having reopened, with return to work, face-to-face study, that pressures are easing in regional rental markets more than they are in capital city rental markets. They're really largely continuing to tighten.
Eleanor, Creagh, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.